Okay, so today's video is going to be about the second step. So in the first video, we discussed research, making sure that you've done your research, that you've decided on where you're moving to, that you get onto those Facebook groups, that you start asking questions, that you start Googling, that you get familiar with wherever it is that you've decided to go, whether it be the UK or the US or Canada or Australia or New Zealand, wherever it is that you choose to go. That you first do that research. Make sure you've got a little folder on your Google Drive and you've popped in all that information so that you and the family all have access to it, and make sure it's all clear, and get onto those Facebook groups, both you and your hubby or whoever it is that's moving, and start asking questions and getting familiar with some things. Step number 2, which is what today's video is about, is basically finding a property. So I'm trying to think back to our little experience. When we were in South Africa, we decided, okay, we're moving to Guildford. We've decided this is the town we want to move to. This is the town that feels the best for us and for the girls in terms of schooling, with Wayne and his work and how we're going to get to work and back home. And we'd made that decision. So we decided on Guildford. Having never lived here, having never visited, none of that. We spoke to people, we asked them, we got information from them, we made friends with people in the area, we got onto the Guildford community boards, all of that stuff. So we decided Guildford was our place. Now, you're in South Africa, but you're going to be flying through and you're going to need a place to stay. So some people are lucky enough to have family in the area that they're moving to or friends that they can stay with. We weren't in a situation like that, so we needed to find a place to stay. And initially we looked at perhaps just renting a place online, looking for a place and then renting. Now that's easier said than done. So what happens is you sit there and you're going through, 50 different estate agents in this little town of Guildford, and everyone's got properties listed in the price range that you're kind of looking at. So our price range was sort of between £1,700 and £2,000. So you're looking in that price range, you say, okay, well, this is what's available. And all you've got access to are pictures. In some instances, you might have a virtual video or two. It is very difficult to rent a property long term based on those pictures. I mean, I'm in real estate, or I've been in real estate. My husband's been in real estate for over 20 years. I find it so difficult because photographs are often manipulated or they just don't look the same and you don't get a feel for the place. When you're looking at a photograph, you're seeing a room from a certain angle, you're not seeing it from another angle. For instance, you're not seeing where all the windows are, you're not seeing what kind of lighting you've got, you don't know what's outside, you don't know what street you're in. It's very difficult to ascertain whether the property is suitable or not based on pictures. Virtual videos, I think, are a lot better. So where you can, if you are engaging with estate agents and you've made the decision to rent while you're still in the country that you're in, before you've moved across, then ask them for virtual videos. In the UK, my experience has been that a lot of them are great with that, especially because of COVID. A lot of the properties are videoed, so they're able to send you those videos and you can have a better feel for the property. I think first prize is you get the agents to actually go to the property and take you on a walk around, because then you can ask, you can say, well, turn left, what does this look like? What does that look like? What is this bathroom like, etc. Because if you're entering into a long-term contract now for a rental, whether it be a year or two, there are going to be penalties to pay if you're going to have to leave the property sooner. So you want to make sure that it's the right property for you. I think in our situation, we were smart enough to realize we couldn't make that decision based on the information that we had and the fact that we didn't have knowledge of Guildford and we hadn't physically been to the town. So we decided to look for an Airbnb. Now, Airbnbs are often more expensive, obviously, but if you can get into an Airbnb for 2 weeks to a month, for instance, that gives you a base. And then you can actually go out with the agents once you've arrived, organize the appointments, and actually go out with them and go and have a look at the properties. So just my experience regarding estate agents in the country, they are very, very helpful in the UK. They've all been super polite, as is the way with this country. They're all very polite. What I did was I organized with 4 or 5 different companies. I think it was about 5 companies, the most reputable ones in the town. And those agents then took me out. So what I did was, to save time, was once we were settled and we'd done the quarantine period of 2 weeks, I made appointments to go out with those agents. Most of them actually took me out in their vehicle, because I didn't have a vehicle at the time, having just arrived. And took me to the properties. So they would often have 4 or 5 different ones on their list, and they take me to all 4 or 5 of them, and I'd have a look at them and then make a decision. What's great about that experience is you start getting a feel for areas, for what you can actually afford, and what you're going to get for the price. You know, if you're looking for a 3-bedroom mansion for £2,000, that's not going to happen in a town like Guildford. You know, perhaps if you're moving to a different county, you could look at something totally different. You could probably get a lot more for your money. We did choose a very expensive town, so it makes it more difficult to find a property that's suitable given your price range. So make sure that you've set up those appointments with these agents. What I did was, we started liaising with these agents in South Africa already. There were 4 of them that we started liaising with already in South Africa. I'd communicate with them, they'd send me properties, I'd have a look at them. So we already had a relationship. So once I arrived in the UK, they were only too sweet, contacting me, asking me if I'd settled into the Airbnb, do I want to start seeing some properties, etc. So they're very much on the ball, or at least my experience in Guildford has been that they're very much on the ball. And they took me out, very polite. And I think after 2 weeks, and I think I saw maybe, I don't know, 15, 16 properties in those 2 weeks, I realized that the property that we wanted was probably going to be very difficult to find. And funny enough, just in that week, when I was feeling most despondent, I got a phone call from one of the agencies, and they just listed a property, and we were the first people to view that property, and it was perfect for us. Perfect location, perfect property. I think the only thing amiss there is the fact that one of the bedrooms are a little bit too small, but otherwise it's pretty much ticking all the boxes. So we were very lucky in finding that property, and everything else has gone pretty smoothly. So that's my advice to you in this little video, is basically make the decision as to where you're moving to. Start doing the research in the area, and even while you're in the country you're in, whether it be South Africa or wherever it is you're moving from, start engaging with those estate agents. Get a good idea on who the agents are that work that area really well. Some agencies only focus on sales, some of them only focus on letting, some do both. And start engaging with an agent in each of those estate agencies. They are very much on the ball. Do start asking for virtual videos. If you're going to rent a property before you move to the country, make sure you get those videos. First prize would be if you could get that agent to go there with you while you're on the phone with them, do a WhatsApp video call, get them to walk around the property so you could get a good idea on the property, ask questions. Leases are always negotiable. If you're coming in at asking price, and you want, the carpets changed here, or a handle fixed there, or a cupboard, whatever, done up here, or whatever, you can ask the question. So a lot of people want to rent a property and don't realize it's just as negotiable as buying a property. You're quite welcome to say, well, the property is up for rent at £2,500 a month, but I'm willing to offer you £2,300 a month. We've done that many times in the past and have been successful. I think what's important to the landlord or to the estate agency is that they're getting a good tenant. And so, yes, be prepared to have them ask you a million questions. There's a lot of paperwork that is involved in renting a property in the UK. So be prepared for that. And often they have like a department that focuses only on letting. We rented our property through a company called Townends. In the end, it wasn't even a company that I'd engaged with, to be honest with you. But they've been awesome. And you end up speaking to 3 or 4 or 5 people in the process of the rental, because different people deal with different sections of renting the property. So be prepared for that. Keep notes, keep a folder. Google Drive for me is like the most awesome thing, because you just keep your folders in there, and just name them different, whatever it is. when it comes to properties, your head's going to spin because there's going to be so much that you've seen. You can't sometimes decipher, what you saw first, second, and third, and what you liked and didn't like about a property. So make notes. Keep records of everything. Make sure that you get back to these agents as quickly as possible. Properties come and go really quickly. In our specific area, there's a varsity, and because of that, properties get rented out to students often. So if a property gets put on the market, it gets snatched up really quickly. So be sure to set up those alerts on Zoopla, on Prime Location, on whatever websites you're looking at. Make sure that you've set up those alerts so that you get notified as soon as a property is listed. And don't be afraid to ask questions. People are very understanding. They deal a lot with people from outside of their country as well. Being South African, every time I tell someone I'm from South Africa, most of them know South Africans or have dealt with South Africans, and they know you're going to ask certain questions, etc. So ask the questions. Nothing is stupid to ask. You're new to the country. You don't know the country. You don't know what is meant to be in a property and not meant to be in a property. Are the wardrobes staying? Are they going? Are they, blinds, silly little things, are the blinds included? Curtains, etc. Because often tenants put up certain things and then they take it away with them when they leave the property. Make sure that you ask questions about, are they replacing carpets? Are they cleaning carpets? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? Ask the questions, and you'll be surprised at how efficient and helpful people are in the country. They are very willing to give you a lot of information and advice, and their service is amazing. So yeah, that's my segment on renting a property. If you're lucky enough to buy, well, that's a whole other story and a whole other segment. Let me know if you want to know more about that, because we can obviously do a video on that as well, on what the process would be. But in the situation, most people do tend to rent, and I would suggest renting. We're planning on renting for 2 years before you make a decision, because you don't know the area, and you want to kind of get a feel for the area, and your situation might change in 2 years' time. So renting, I think, is always first prize initially. Yes, good luck with your experience and your journey. And if you have any questions, like I said, please ask. I've got my email address. I've got my YouTube account that you can go and ask questions on as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.